Hello, this is Darren.
And this is Paige.
And this is
Where's the Lemonade?
Where we talk about what happens when life throws you lemons.
Make some lemonade?
Maybe. Some weeks it's lemon squares.
Yeah, some weeks it's just lemons.
Yep. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the...
horrible first year.
It was pretty bad. Pretty rough.
Yep.
For those of you that think that everything has been rosy, it hasn't.
No, apparently maybe we've been painting our picture with a little too many flowers.
A lot of flowers.
So
hindsight's 20/20, and we wear rose-colored glasses.
Yes, and because things are so much better now. But yes, my friend Laura, shout out to Laura. She said that we were a little too Pollyanna in our podcast. We need to be a little more real. So today,
you're getting some real stuff. In fact, when we talked about this episode, we plan these episodes once a week, and when we talked about it, we were actually in the Sacramento airport waiting for a flight.
Yep, we were heading to Vegas for Darren's dad's 80th birthday, and it was a little tension-filled waiting for our plane.
Yes, it was. And the plane was a little bit late, so that added a little bit to it. So,
but yeah, we started talking about this episode and kind of outlining it, and it brought up some
memories that were kind of raw and hard.
Yeah, I think we still had some hurt feelings.
Yes, we did. But we made it through it, thank goodness. So, and a lot of the things that we found hard that we mentioned were, one was the meshing of kids. I had 6 kids. You had 4, all different ages. And, well, except for 2 of the kids that were 2 weeks apart. Yeah,
we have 2 boys, Dallin and Jake. They are... just 2 weeks apart, and they were 16. So it was a really rough age for a divorce for those kids. I mean, I don't want to minimize it for any of our other kids, but 16 was a rough age, and it was hard on those 2 boys, especially.
It really was, and these 2 boys were diametrically opposed to each other. They were like night and day. They were,
and as much as we wanted them to be just good old buddies.
Yeah, they would have nothing to do with that.
But they were never rude or mean to each other.
They weren't. They just ignored each other.
Yes, and it's kind of funny because now...
they're actually really good friends.
They're really good friends. They live in the same town up in Utah, and they're good friends. They're good friends, and I think they love each other now. And so patience is good.
Yeah. But meshing kids can be difficult. Now, some of our other kids meshed really quickly. Like our oldest daughter and our youngest daughter. They just fell in love with each other right away. Now, there is a, 16-year difference between them. Right. So it was a little bit easier. But Amanda, shout out to Amanda for really accepting the younger kids as her siblings right away.
She did.
Yeah. Now, also some other things that we found that were a little tough to do was meshing rules.
It was more than a little tough to do. You're being rosy right there.
I was being rosy. Take off my... It was tough.
It was hard. It was, yeah.
Because there were different expectations for your kids and different expectations for my kids.
Right. And even though we overall have the same moral compass and, large rules.
Little rules.
It's the little things. Yes. It's not like there was any big thing that we were different on. There wasn't. There was no big thing we were opposed to.
I can't even imagine if there was. That would have been, disastrous.
Yeah. It was all little things. But yeah, that was hard. That was hard. You'd been raising your kids one way for 20 years. I'd been raising my kids one way for 20 years. And
we had to mesh those together. And what we found was when the kids first got together, the older kids, the rules were still the same as what they pretty much had in their own homes. Very little changes for them. But the younger kids, the rules were more consistent. There was no double rules. A rule for a step-sibling or a rule for a sibling. They had to be different for the different age groups. And we found that was one way to get through all that.
Yeah, I really didn't discipline your older kids. You just can't. You just can't go there.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't.
So you didn't really discipline my older kids. I didn't discipline your older kids. But the 3 youngest kids, we were just like, you know what? There's no way. They were 4, 5, and 6. There's no way that just you can discipline when your kids are here. It's not possible.
It doesn't make sense. But we did set up some boundaries, and there were certain boundaries. If any of my kids Well, and all the kids heard me that one time. Remember when the house was dirty?
We talked about that in one of our other podcasts.
Oh, yeah, yes. They all felt my wrath. And
Yes.
that's the only time they've ever all heard me yell. So
Yeah, that was rough. That's one of the other hard things about a second marriage with lots of kids involved is those kinds of expectations. Because I don't know if you remember this, before we even got married.
oh yes, I remember.
Do you remember this, sweetie?
Yes, I do.
I had just quit my job in preparation for, having a house full of 7 kids with 7 different schedules. And I had a day and I said, I'm going to come clean your house, Darren. And he says, oh, my house is already pretty clean. And I was like, oh, cool. So
Yeah, my definition of clean and Paige's definition of clean is very different.
very different. And in our home, there's 4 bathrooms and oh my goodness.
They were picked up.
So yes, Darren's definition of clean is picked up and mine is actually clean. And it was pretty funny because he was like, oh yeah, you don't have much to do over here.
Yeah, when I came home from work that day, Paige was sitting on the couch going,
You're gross.
yeah, maybe we'll hire a maid and I'll work. But the kids all learned how to clean to Paige's standards. So different expectations in the house, all those things have to all come together.
Yes, I think that we were a little naive on how we thought when we blended our family that love was going to conquer all, right?
Yeah, and that love is not enough to conquer all. You
It's
need some
not.
strategies and some things like that.
Yes, definitely.
So let's talk about some of the logistics of blending a family. First off was the move.
The move. That's hard.
Well, and the house that we lived in and where to decide to move to. Those are all really tough decisions to make.
Yes, because in a lot of second marriages, you don't want to move into a house where one of the other spouses has lived. I think that's usually a kind of a touchy subject for,
For anyone, yeah.
for anyone. And so that was kind of easier for us. You had the larger house. You owned your house. I was renting.
And it was a house I had not lived in with my ex-wife.
Right.
It was a house that I actually bought after the divorce.
Right.
So it was really a blank canvas.
Yep. Had 7 bedrooms, so it was
perfect for us.
It was perfect for us. So that was kind of an easy one for us.
Well, kind of easy.
Easy for us to decide that this was the house we were going to live in, but not easy for the kids to make those adjustments.
Yeah, and not even just that. Just think about 2 houses, because you had a house. It had 4 bedrooms.
4 bedrooms. Yep.
Right. We had to move your stuff and all your kids' stuff into this house.
Right, which was already filled
with my kids' stuff.
Right, and your stuff.
And my stuff, and a garage full of boxes that continually get moved around.
Yeah.
So that was tough. So knowing what to keep and what to throw away was really hard.
It was, because it was like, okay, I've got a kitchen that's full of dishes, and you've got a kitchen that's full of dishes. So we kind of packed up my house, brought it over here, like the kitchen, and then as we would open things, we would kind of look at what you had and what I had, and we'd go
throw things away.
Toss. Yep.
But also there were other things too, and we still have some of them out in the garage that are from your ex-husband's family, heirlooms.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right? That, I had to be sensitive to, hey, these are my stepkids' things that
Right.
will be handed down to them someday. So I have to make room in the garage for that.
Yep, definitely.
Right? Even though it was like, ooh, I'm inviting my wife's ex-husband's stuff into my house. At first I was, I was bristling a little bit, but I had to swallow some pride and say, well, what's best for the kids in that respect?
That's right. And you know what? The first year is about swallowing a lot of pride. It really is.
Yeah, and I didn't always do good on that. We'll talk about that one later.
Neither one of us did so well, but we worked on it. But yeah, so moving moving my kids from their friends and their church and their schools over here, because we are about 35 minutes away from where I used to live. And we did try and let my son Jake, let him try to continue to go to the school back, in Lincoln. But it was hard. It was hard to have him drive that far, and it was rough. So he did that for 1 semester and then ended up moving over here. So it was a big change. New house, new stepdad, new step siblings.
It was a little bit easier for Sam because he hadn't started school yet. He started kindergarten here.
Yes.
In fact, he actually lived with me to go to kindergarten here about a month before we actually got married.
He did.
Yeah, he stayed here every night, so it was kind of interesting. I had a little buddy with me even when my kids weren't here.
Yep.
Sam was with me all the time.
Yep. So that was it was difficult for my kids, I think, because they were
transplanted.
They were transplanted, and we all kind of felt like guests in this home, and we had to figure.
So when did that stop? When did you feel like this was really your house?
I have no idea. I don't remember if it was I don't think it was a day. You know what I mean? I don't think I went, oh, today I don't feel like it. I think it's just a gradual thing.
Because I'm sure almost anyone kind of would feel that way if you moved into someone else's town or things like that. Now, another thing, a church is very important to us.
Right.
Right, and we struggled with church a little bit because we wanted to decide, well, where are we going to church?
Right.
So we ended up going to the same congregation as my ex-wife.
Because when we got married...
She actually lived down the street.
She lived down the street. So this is actually kind of funny. I remember when we were dating, and Darren tells me, yeah, my ex-wife just lives 7 houses up. And I said, oh, so you didn't buy a house with your new wife in mind? And he said, no, I didn't, because he bought it with his kids in mind. And at the time,
that was tough.
I thought it was kind of crazy that your ex-wife was just living 7 houses up the street. But that has just been a blessing overall for the kids. So, I mean...
It's only taken 7 years to get to this point where she'll call it a blessing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always called it a blessing for the kids.
Yeah.
Because it has. It's
been easy for them to go back and forth. Oh, I forgot my violin, or I forgot my piano books, or my homeworks at mom's.
Right.
They could easily walk down the street and get it.
Right. But yeah, I think it was hard, and I think she would say it was hard too.
Oh, absolutely.
Two women in these kids' lives, a mom and a stepmom, taking up space, on the same street. And
now, I mean, after about a year, she moved down around the corner, so it wasn't every day. We couldn't just see her house from our house anymore. It changed.
Right. But yeah, she's still, not even a half a mile away.
Yeah.
And once again, that is a blessing for the kids for sure. But it was hard for us because we are in the same congregation at church as her.
We have similar friends.
Yes. And as people know, when you get divorced,
it's never amicable. I don't know who has ever said, oh, it was an amicable divorce.
Right.
There's a lot of raw feelings there. So there's always transition. And,
when you have joint friends, you've got friends that are, going to pick her side and friends that are going to pick your side. And you've got friends in the middle that are trying to balance
both. What to do.
Yes. Yeah. So that's it's really challenging.
So it's important to be patient with your friends and find those friends that you can confide in, and it's tougher for you than me, for sure.
It was really hard for me to move from my congregation in Lincoln, where that they were taking care of me.
Yeah, they helped you get through your divorce.
They did. They were my family. And then I moved here to this congregation where your wife, had been for, I think you guys had only lived here a couple of years.
Yeah, a year.
But, so I didn't know who was friends with her, who I could talk to. And not because I didn't want to talk to whoever was friends with her, but I want to be respectful. And if someone is her really good friend, I'm like, okay, I don't want to rock the boat. You stay her good friend. I love loyalty. So, yeah. So it was a little of a landmine situation where I didn't quite know where to step.
And you know what? It was really hard for about a year.
It was very hard. There was a lot of tears shed over this. A lot of tears. I just felt like I couldn't be myself. I really felt like I could not be myself, that people were always looking at me, judging me. Man. And I'm a pretty confident person, but
it's gotta be tough. And
it was rough.
I can't really empathize. It was hard for me, and I was trying everything I could to help you out, and I didn't know what to do.
You tried really hard, but it was just something I had to work through.
Yeah. Now, another thing that was kind of a silly thing, but it was going out to dinner. Like to a restaurant. Now, when you've got 7 kids, that means we've got 9 people eating in a restaurant. First off, it's hard to find a restaurant that will seat 9 people last minute. So we always had to plan this out ahead of time.
Yes, and it's very expensive. I mean, even to go to fast food, we were dropping, $75 just to, it was just
easily. Yeah.
Easily. And when I used to take my kids out to dinner, I always bought them a soda at dinner because we didn't have soda in our house. So this was a treat, right? We went out to dinner and we didn't go out to dinner a ton. When we did, we got a soda. That was just our treat.
And we went out to dinner more, but we always got water because I was used to 6 kids because sodas run about $2 a pop or maybe even $3 a pop. So you times that, there's $20. And maybe I'm being silly saving $20, but now you've added 3-4 more people to this now. So we actually had an argument over soda and water.
Not even an argument. It was an ongoing.
It was an ongoing.
Oh my gosh. And this was actually one of the things that we brought up in the Sacramento airport just a few days ago.
Yes, it was. And it was still a little raw for Paige.
Because I guess neither one of us wanted to back down on this.
And I said, Paige actually asked me, would you have changed that? And I said, no, I don't think I would have.
And that made me mad.
And that made you mad. But would I do it now? No. I mean, now the kids, they don't even ask for soda. It's really kind of funny. Some do, but most of them don't. They just always.
And if they did, it wouldn't be a big deal now.
No, it wouldn't
like
be
it just it's.
Oh wait, the kids are hearing this.
Yeah,
kids, you can order soda all you want as long as you pay for it.
But it's those little things that we dig our heels in. And I just kept thinking, why is this a big deal to him? Just pay the stinking $20 and move on with life.
For some reason, it was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
And I don't even know
and
why.
So I guess what we need to understand is, I mean, it was a big deal to you. I kept being mad that it was a big deal. I'm just like, just get over this. And
it's those small little things. Maybe
yes.
I was just holding on to. I needed to show that I was in charge.
Well, because so many things that we have to compromise or just completely give in on.
Yeah.
On the first year, you just have to compromise or give in, and so maybe this was just one thing you didn't want to do. That
was maybe the one thing I couldn't handle.
But it's the little things. All these little things,
they add up.
Yeah,
they absolutely do. Well, another thing that we have to remember our kids when we're blending these families too. Remember, their lives are completely turned upside down, especially if you're moving them from one city to another. And you have to be mindful of how they're feeling and what they're going through. We did put all of our kids into some kind of counseling, someone to talk to, but that wasn't always enough. And in some situations, like Jake decided to rebel.
Oh yes, such a rebel.
He we don't want our kids drinking caffeinated drinks just because I don't want them bouncing off the walls. And Jake was a Mountain Dew drinker, and he created a mausoleum of Mountain Dew in his room.
It was a montage.
Yeah, I guess so. It looks more like a temple.
Yes.
Of Mountain Dew. His whole wall was covered.
His
with
whole
Mountain
wall.
Dew
It was kind of in your face, Darren. I'm going to drink Mountain Dew whether you want me to or not. This was our 16-year-old.
Yes.
And yes, so we didn't allow him to keep it in the fridge in the house because we didn't want the little kids to get a hold of Mountain Dew. That's for sure.
That's all you need is a 4-year-old on Mountain Dew.
Yeah, but Jake had plenty in his bedroom,
yes,
and he had. But you know what? You just have to kind of let things like that go with teenagers, especially. They're already hurting.
There still needs to be boundaries, but you have to give them some wiggle room. If you give them complete carte blanche, you're going to have a lot of problems.
Oh no, and we're not like that. But so we have 2 Jacobs. I think we've mentioned this. We have Jacob and Jacob. So my Jacob is Jake, and your Jacob is Jacob.
Yeah,
and he wanted to. This was a couple of years later, but he wanted to
grow his hair long.
And
it was so awful.
Jacob, I want you to know that never would have happened without me in your life.
That is absolutely true. I would have probably drugged him and shaved his head bald.
And
it was so gross.
It did not look. It did not look well, and
it smelled.
He will admit that. But yes, Jacob, I definitely calmed your dad down about that and just said, "Let him do it. Let him grow his hair long," and it did get pretty long.
Okay, so what were some of the things that we did that helped us get through that first year? Because it was pretty rough. There was several arguments and fights. And so what made it so that we actually survived?
More than several. Oh my gosh. It was really hard. So yeah, we talked about this a little while ago. What are our big things that got us through? And one of them was our marriage counseling.
Absolutely. In fact, the day we got engaged, we had our first marriage counseling session together.
Yeah, should we talk about that for just one moment?
No.
So, okay, let me set the stage here. Okay. Darren proposes. Beautiful proposal. We went and picked out the ring right after you proposed. We then went to marriage counseling, our first marriage counseling.
It was very good.
It was very good. We loved our counselor. We then went to dinner at the Olive Garden. I don't know why we picked the Olive Garden. We never eat at Olive Garden. So anyway, we went to the Olive Garden, and then we decided at dinner
it would be respectful.
It would be respectful for us to call our ex-spouses and inform them that we were engaged. We thought that was the right thing to do so they don't hear it from someone else.
Right.
So we went to the car, and I tried to call my ex, and he didn't answer. And you called your ex, and she did answer, and you talked to her, and talked to her, and talked to her.
Eventually the car ran out of gas.
Oh my goodness. So I got out of the car. I was so steamed that you kept talking. I got out of the car, slammed the door, sat outside for another 20 minutes while you still talked to her.
It wasn't 20 minutes.
It was so long. And he finally came out of the car, and
I was still trying to navigate the emotions that you have with your ex-spouse.
Right.
Those are tough. I mean, we were married for 20 years.
Right.
I was trying to show respect. There's still emotions involved there.
Yes.
Not always positive emotions because we went through a divorce.
Right.
So it was hard for me to work through. And you were actually pretty understanding. It took a little bit of time to calm down. But
that night, I was just like, this is, this wonderful thing that would just happen. We just got engaged, and I felt like, here you just spent 30 minutes on the phone with your ex-wife. And anyway,
Right, but let's get back to marriage counseling. Because the marriage counselor actually helped us get through that part.
Yes.
And some of the things that she taught us how to do was to communicate effectively. In fact, towards the end of our year, when we would head to the marriage counselor, we'd resolve any concerns we had on our way there.
We would, yes.
And then she would ask us how we did that, and then it would reaffirm how we learned how to empathize with each other. Because we come with a lot of baggage of 20 years of marriage before us.
Right.
And, you kind of feel somewhat damaged, frankly.
Yeah, definitely.
Your emotions tend to be a little heightened. And so she really taught us how to empathize. And one of the cool things that she taught us was to give your spouse the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, definitely. She did. And I remember one of the things that she taught us was something that you thought was cute when you were dating or maybe very first married, and now it's irritating you.
Like constant laughter.
Constant laughter. Yes. Yeah. One of the reasons Darren married me was because I laugh and
you have fun.
We have fun.
Yeah. But in that first year, laughter was one of the things that saved us and annoyed me like no get out.
Yeah.
It did. It doesn't anymore. I really appreciate the laughter and the levity that you bring. But when we were having a discussion or an argument, you would bring laughter in, and it was like, I'm trying to get my point across.
And I would try and lighten the moment.
And you were trying to lighten the moment. So we learned how to work through that. But I would say all the things that we learned about, the number one thing there was giving your spouse the benefit of the doubt. They really love you.
Right.
They're not trying to hurt you. They may say something that does hurt you, but it's not out of malice.
Right.
And to not find fault in your spouse, but to always look for the best.
Well, and one of the things we really had to learn was our communication styles, right?
Yes.
You like to, when we get in a fight...
I want to discuss it.
Yes, you want to hash it out.
Yep.
Let's hash it out right now. Let's do it. And I...
want to get quiet.
I want to think about it. I want to think about the situation. I want to calm it down. I want to think about what I want to say. And sometimes...
It drives me crazy.
It does drive you crazy. And sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, I don't even want to talk to you because
you don't.
I know that if we wait an hour...
It'll be better.
It'll be so much more productive than talking about it right now. So we have That was hard in the first year.
It was, but we've gotten a lot better because we understand each other better, and we understand that we really want each other to
We
succeed.
do, but hold on. We're making this too Pollyanna, Darren.
Oh, no,
We're making this too Pollyanna.
There's good news here.
No. You're making this too Pollyanna. There were many times. I want people to know there were so many times where I got in that car and drove off in our first year of marriage. How many times did I do that?
Maybe 4 or 5 times.
4 or 5 times. I was like, not that, wasn't that I'd had it with our marriage, but I'd had it at the moment, and I was just like,
a timeout.
I'm out of here. I'd drive to Winco. I'd drive down the street. I'd drive to the lake. But we had many, many arguments.
But we got through them by learning how to communicate effectively,
Yes.
right? And even last Friday when we first went over this, and you started getting heated about some of the memories that were coming up, we got over that pretty quick. It only took
Because you realized that I was right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. So as you can tell, the key things that helped us get through was communication, laughter,
And
time that we got to spend alone without the kids also was very good, and intimacy.
intimacy, definitely, and not wanting to fail.
Yeah, absolutely.
So many times in that first year of marriage, when I would just go, oh my goodness, I can't, this is so hard. And I'd go, I do not want another marriage to fail. Really. If we're just being brutally honest here, we just had determination, right?
Yes, we did. Yeah, we fought.
We fought for this.
We fought for this, and we fought for each other.
We fought for each other.
And I think that's what really made the difference. All right, so the funny moment of the week this week actually happened on our trip to my dad's 80th birthday.
Yes, we had a great time with your siblings and your parents in Vegas just for 24 hours.
Yeah, and we got to talk to my siblings about accepting Paige into the family, which was good. We got some great quotes from them and some ideas from them for our next podcast, which is actually going to talk about being accepted into an extended family. But the funny moment happened when I got a little bit of a sunburn.
Yeah, you got a sunburn and you put sunscreen on your face and you had some kind of allergic reaction.
First time I've ever had an allergic reaction.
Yeah, his eye was like swollen shut. His nose is just dripping.
So by the time we got to the airport later that evening, as we sat through Donnie and Marie, shout out to Donnie and Marie show. It was great.
It was great.
After the show, we headed to the airport, and by the time I got through security, my one eye was shut, and I looked like the guy from Hitch. And
I wish we would have gotten a picture.
We should have gotten a picture. That would have been great.
Darn.
Luckily, the convenience store at the airport had Benadryl, so I took 3 Benadryl, and I was out cold on the airplane. It was wonderful. But yeah.
Thanks, Vegas.
Thanks, Vegas. Yeah. What happens in Vegas goes with you afterwards, obviously.
If you like today's episode,
give us 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify, Google.
And head to Facebook and like us.
And check out our blog at where'sthelemonade.org.
Where you can leave questions and comments.
But most of all,
go out and make some lemonade.
You betcha, baby.
On our next episode,
we're going to talk about being accepted into the extended family.
Each family is very different.
Sure is.